Offensive line play at Oregon, obviously strong under Mario Cristobal. He left a lot of those players in play for Dan Lanning, but 4 or 5 of them gone off of last year's team that were significant contributors up front.
This is the place where you get, I don't want to say you're concerned, but you do have more uncertainty than you expected to have, probably. Everybody knew there would be a lot of players moving on. That'll be the case. It was a big coup a year ago when Dan Lanning and now former offensive line coach Adrian Clem, we can get into that in a moment, along with probably Kenny Dillingham, also a former Oregon coach. He's now the head coach at Arizona State. That trio was able to talk Alex Forsyth into coming back. He was able to coerce the rest of the group into coming back, and they brought back all 5 starters from the previous 2 seasons. We're a very strong veteran group. We're one of the best offensive lines up for a lot of national awards. I think they only gave up 5 sacks all season. That was a national best, a program best in a long time. I think they were one of the better run games in the conference for much of the season, especially in the middle part of the year. You kind of saw them flex, but as we've said, Forsyth is gone. Ryan Walk is gone. TJ Bass, the left tackle, is gone. Malasala Amave-Lalu, who is the right tackle, is gone. Those 4 players have all exhausted their eligibilities. And now you've got to kind of reload here. And it doesn't get easier by the fact that about, gosh, maybe 2 weeks ago, Clem, who was it turned out he's just going to be a 1-year coach in Eugene because he's taking a job on the, New England Patriots coaching staff under Bill Belichick. So they had to scramble here a little bit late, and actually just earlier this week announced Alik Terry, who had been a graduate assistant at Oregon in 2019 and 20, would replace Clem as the offensive line coach. So not only are they replacing 4 starters, but it's a brand new coach. There will be some new techniques probably implemented, some new ideology, some new understandings of kind of what you want to do up front. So that part is interesting. Um, there is a lot of guys that are, I think the one thing that you can kind of be optimistic about is I don't think the talent is lacking right now either. They went out last cycle in 2022 and signed Josh Connerly, the top rated offensive line recruit in the country. He was a backup last year. All indications are he'll be the starting left tackle this year. They went out and signed or added a Johnny Cornelius from Rhode Island. He was 24/7 Sports top offensive tackle, transfer portal player. He figures to slot in at right tackle. So at the 2 tackles, you've got really high end talent. Both of them are inexperienced playing at Oregon, but based upon their pedigree and in Cornelius's case, what he showed at the FCS level, have the talent to be difference makers. And then on the inside, Jackson Powers Johnson was being groomed for the last 2 seasons to be the next center. He and Alex Forsyth and Ryan Walk, who were the center and guard, the last couple of years kind of rotated a little bit. Had kind of been working with him, understanding this would be the outcome. And I think people feel pretty darn good about what he can offer. And then at the guard spots, Marcus Harper did a good job filling in for Stephen Jones last year. When Jones went down with a foot injury, he missed 10 games. Harper was a quality starter there. Jones is back. Harper's back. They've actually gone out and added Junior Angelau, who was a 3-year starter at Texas, who's also an interior guy. So amongst those 3 guys, 2 of them will end up winning starting jobs. So I kind of have run through it all. You're looking at, I think, a pretty talented group, but there's a lot of questions of how maybe all the pieces fit together, and then ultimately what the new position coach can kind of get out of that group.
Who is the new position coach?
That is Alik Terry. He was a 2017 graduate of Wake Forest. He's only 27 years old, so a relatively younger coach for sure. He spent as I said, 2019 to 2020, he was a grad assistant under Mario Cristobal at Oregon, and then 2021, I think he was at Hawaii as an offensive line coach, and then last year he was on the Minnesota Vikings coaching staff as an offensive line assistant. So decent pedigree, a guy who certainly moved his way up. I think Oregon fans might have been a little surprised that they didn't go land somebody with a little bit more coaching experience. But the point I've made on our site a couple of times over at Duck Territory is that, it was just last year that they went and found a guy who didn't have a whole lot of coaching experience, and he's turned out pretty well. And that was Carlos Locklin, the running backs coach, who came to Oregon in a similar situation where he had 1 year as a position coach at Western Kentucky. He'd been in kind of an off-field role at a couple of other places before that. And he came in and I thought was, as I said, one of the better rooms was the running backs room. He did a great job. So, every coach isn't created equal in terms of experience, but I think you've got to trust the track record Dan Lanning has had in terms of identifying and hiring the right people.